Hey guys, so I'm just wanting to touch base with you guys about Middle English a little bit more in depth. Um, so a couple of things to keep in mind. So we are moving on from Old English. So Middle English is going to look a little bit more familiar than Old English, but it's still not modern English. And one of the reasons is because spelling was not standard at that time, so people could spell the same word several ways, and all of them were counted as correct. So you're going to see some variation in spelling. You're going to see people spelling more so how things sound and not really how we spell them today. And a lot of that caused confusion in what was being written. So that's why we moved to a more standard system, which is what we have now for modern English. We have a strict grammar and spelling set of rules. So if you're looking at your version of the text that I have posted on a Google Doc, it does not quite look like this, but it does have both pieces. So one set of lines is actually the Middle English version of the text written out, and one is the modern. So for you guys, it's what is known as interlinear translation. So that means that in between each line is the translated version. So I also made a note on there that shows you which one is the translated version and which one is the original, which one is Middle English. But you should be able to figure that out pretty quick when looking at it. When you are thinking about Middle English, you're definitely going to come across Geoffrey Chaucer, Geoffrey with a G. So Geoffrey Chaucer was a very busy man. He did many things. His father was a merchant, so he encountered a lot of different types of people, and it was not common for him to kind of work and meet and talk with people of all different social classes and jobs. So he learned about these different types of people through his actual life, and then he wrote about these people. So one thing to note about the Canterbury Tales is the Canterbury Tales is what's known as a frame story. So there is actually a story inside of a story. So it's going to look something like this. So this is our frame here, and this is our picture. So the general prologue is what you guys should have been reading yesterday and today. The general prologue is this outside overall story. Anytime you see the word prologue in this story, it means it's part of the frame. Now, if you see anything that says tale, your tale is going to be the picture. So it's a story told by one of the characters in the overall story. So we are reading a frame story, which means we're reading a story inside of a story. The general prologue sets everything up, and it tells us where the setting is, what time of year. It tells us how many people are going, where they're going, why they're going. It kind of generally sets us up with, who, what, where, when, why, and how. So if you can answer those basic questions after reading this first 42 lines, you should be good to go. And move into the next portion. So the next portion is actually going to be where I let you guys pick either reading The Wife of Bath's Tale or The Pardoner's Tale. Both of them are very famous from this text. Each of them has a prologue piece, so an introductory piece that kind of sets up the story, followed by the story itself, which is known again as tales. The Wife of Bath is literally the wife of a man who rules over the place called Bath. Bath is a real place, and there would have actually been somebody who was the whomever of Bath. It would have been using his name, though. And the Wife of Bath is his wife, and all of the characters in the Canterbury Tales are actually referred to by their title or their job, not a name. But just a little extra information that you won't find in the actual text. The Wife of Bath's real name is actually Allison. She is supposed to be, like any wife at this time, somebody who is going to she's upper class, so she's probably going to host things. She'll be, she'll decorate the house and be very decorated herself, be expensive. She will possibly be a little standoffish or stuck up, maybe even mean. Not really social other than people in her social class, which would have been high class at this time. You would think she would be pretty submissive to her husband and possibly uneducated, because women weren't frequently educated at this time. With that being said, Geoffrey Chaucer loves to use irony. The entire text is ironic, and it really focuses on making commentary about really ridiculous things that people are doing, which actually classifies large portions of this text as what is known as a satire. So it's satire's job is to use things like irony, humor, exaggeration to actually make fun of a particular situation in order to create some kind of change in society. And we're actually going to read a more direct example of this later on in the semester. So this will be kind of like a little baby version of a satire before we get to the, the really, really intense one. So same thing for the partner. The partner a partner is someone who gives pardons. A pardon is a document that kind of clears you of all obligations from wrongdoing or crimes. The president of the U.S. is one of the only people, I think, who is allowed to give those out for certain crimes. But in other cases, you can be pardoned for other things. But like, for example, I think like any kind of federal crime must be pardoned by the president. The partner, again, gives these pardons. He gives people, like, your get out of jail free card, essentially. You would think that this man, as part of the church and the government, that he would be respectable, nice, have a good reputation, be very trustworthy, and not be, greedy. But knowing that Chaucer uses irony and he uses the stereotypes of a wife and of a partner, he's going to flip those on their heads. So the wife is going to be very opposite to what you would think she would be, and the partner is going to be very different than what you think he's supposed to be. So the wife of Bath, just a heads up, has red hair and a gap between her teeth. Both of those traits are known as being promiscuous traits. They show you as a not socially acceptable person. That maybe you get around a little bit, so in case that was unclear. And again, these are just stereotypes that were placed on her at the time. She has red hair. She has a gap in her teeth. She does flirt a little bit with the men in her party. She is not really seen as submissive. She is pretty educated. She doesn't seem like she's super expensive per se. But another fun fact about her, you will not actually read this in the text, but she has been married several times, and she actually pays off the religious figures at the church so that she can continuously get married. Because if you had been married before and had consummated your marriage, you were seen as not marryable again. And she, again, had been married several times. And there was almost this implication that she marries older men so that when they die, she has their money. So she's a little bit of a gold digger-esque situation. And her latest husband, actually, this, again, you won't read in the text, because there's other larger pieces of this text that we won't read. We find out that she actually had a younger husband. Her latest husband is a younger husband, so the Earl of Bath or whatever he is. And he doesn't care for her to be educated and read, and he actually punches her so hard in the ear that she actually has hearing loss from the injury. So, and again, those are just things that, are extra information to get you kind of into her character and understand, like, the kind of person she is and why she's telling the stories that she is. On the other hand, the partner, He is the opposite of what you want as a religious figure who's in charge of giving you pardons. He is very greedy. He doesn't want anything to do with people who are poor. He lies, he steals, he cheats. Anything you can see as a really, really bad quality, this pardoner pretty much lives up to. And keep that in mind, that will show up in his story as well. So the whole setup is these people are on their way to Canterbury Cathedral, and they are working to fix some kind of ailment. So each person is going on this pilgrimage, this journey, in order to find something at this particular cathedral, because each of the cathedrals, each of the shrines they were going to was known for something specific. And it's up to you in the prologue, the general prologue, to tell me what that thing is. But they're going to Canterbury Cathedral. It might help for you to figure out which saint is associated with Canterbury Cathedral. So the general prologue, again, you should be looking for those W's to answer those W's. That'll get you a good way into the text. And what I'm going to have you guys do is you are going to either work by yourself or with a partner. You do have the choice. I'm going to put these directions up as well. They're going to be typed directions. Go ahead and pick 3 if you're working by yourself, 4 if you're working with a partner of the things there at the bottom for you to select. There's 6 total, so you can pick 3 or 4 depending on how many people you're working with. And you're going to read through one of these tales, either the Wife of Bath's tale or the Pardoner's tale, and you are going to look for those particular elements within that text. I will be showing you guys film versions of this as well. Just so you have an idea of what they look like and what this text is supposed to generally tell you. But I am going to save those until you get a little bit more time to read. This will be something that I give a little bit more time than normal, simply because I know it is pretty difficult for you guys to read this by yourself, which is why I'm hoping I'm going to be getting a lot of questions, and I'd be happy to do any kind of meetings with you guys to read it with you, to answer any questions. Please refrain from Googling everything. That will not help you. You will not learn how to read this stuff, and it will be more and more difficult as we continue, because our next thing is going to be Shakespeare, and this is pretty difficult compared to Shakespeare. So if you think Shakespeare is hard, we need to conversate. So if you are struggling, please contact me. I'd be happy to sit with you and read anything. If we need to do that several times, that is fine. Just let me know how I can help. I guess that's it for now, guys. Just make sure you keep an eye out for any ironic elements or satirical elements, just because I think that's going to help you understand the text a lot better. And don't forget to be defining words that you're not sure what they are. That is going to be another really, really important thing for you to do. All right, guys, I guess that's it for now. See you around.